The space the man vanished into is dark and silent. We can see and hear nothing of him, not even his footsteps. The guide was right. There are no other options. Well, that is what I have to believe. We need to get through this somehow, and being weighed down with guilt will only distract us. The guide starts moving again at a quick pace. After a moment's hesitation and one last glance into the truly lifeless fog, we run to catch up to him. We walk onwards in silence. Our party hasn't changed. The stranger was never added to it, so it's not as if it makes sense to miss him. But there's a sense of loss all the same. No one even attempts mirth. Though Bemel constantly looks to want to reach out towards my empty hand, always thinking better of it before doing so. I keep thinking I should have done more, should have pushed the guide harder to change his mind so it was less dangerous to keep the man around. Something. Anything. But I have to let this go. I'm not going to forget that man. I'll never forget him. But we still need to get through this. I curl my hands into fists, hoping it'll strengthen my resolve. Then I push forward. We turn down a different path and the guide stops. Oh no! Ahead of us stands a group of prowlers. At the sound of us, they turn their heads in unison, as if they knew we were coming. I inhale. The prowlers wriggle somehow, their skin moving more slowly than it should, sliding across their skeletons. They laugh.
We cannot lose another lantern at this point. We're almost to the island.
The guide rummages through his coat with his free hand.
What are you planning?
Bemele's tone is borderline threatening, but the guide ignores him. He pulls out a small pouch and then opens a latch on his lantern.
Wait, are you going to throw that at them? What if the bridge sets on fire?
It will. We're going to run.
This is
shit.
insane! These bridges are hellish enough without them also being on fire.
He's got a point.
And what about the other man? If he's still out there, this could...
He's dead. We're not losing another lantern.
He says it with such detached certainty, it's as if he saw it happen himself. No one argues with him. The guide steps closer to the prowlers. We fall into step behind him, staying close to his back. He bends his lantern back down until it's lowered to his outstretched arm. The pouch in his hand is set aflame. With a practiced flick of the wrist, he swings the staff back up and... He swings the staff back and up. The glass in the lantern snaps closed.
Don't get left behind.
He takes 3 quick steps, then tosses the pouch. The prowlers are back in the water before the pouch even lands, and as soon as it does, the fire starts to lick and curl itself around the wood. The guide breaks into a sprint, and so do the rest of us. The blaze grows despite the heavy dampness from the lake. These bridges aren't normal bridges. Of course that's true. Nothing here is right. Hopefully they won't collapse with the flames. We stay on the guide's heels, almost too close for comfort. If he stops abruptly, we'll all crash into one another, and maybe even fall off the bridge. Then the world tilts. I was mid-stride when I put my foot down. The bridge isn't where it was. It lurches to one side, either because it was weakened or pushed. Bemele and I manage to keep our ground, so does the guide. He presses on, without even bothering to see if we were able to follow. Bemele grows in frustration as we push to keep up with the guide's pace. As our storm of feet thunder across the boards, a silver sliver, Jesus, begins to rise into view just above the edge of the water.
It's the island.
The island? I squint and suddenly make out the craggy forms of land and earth. I see it. We're almost there. Safety at long last in sight. New energy surges through me. We push ourselves faster, longing to put these godforsaken bridges behind our backs. All at once, the bridge ends, and our entire group rushes ashore. Earth, solid earth, a heaven from the water. I catch my breath while still moving even further away from the dark shoreline. I can't believe we actually made it. Even more difficult is the idea that we're only halfway done. When night falls once more, we'll have to do it all again. A heavy arm falls across my shoulders, and I straighten to see Bemele smiling wearily at me.
Good work out there.
Thanks. It's not the usual commendation of a job well done. There's sadness, perhaps even sympathy in the sentence. It ends flatly. With a sigh, he leans his head to the side, having it rest slightly against mine. Usually, Bemele's comfort and good nature gives me at least the urge to smile, but right now it feels like a hollow victory. Despite still having the comfort of one another, we were incapable of doing any true good. We were only able to save ourselves. A quiet moment passes between us. And then the guide is there. He moves so smoothly that his steps on the soft sand are nearly silent, and his dusky clothes blend with the thinning of night.
The sun will rise soon. The fire on the bridge is the only reason this island isn't overrun with prowlers right now. However, they could still pose a threat.
Bemele leaves an empty look towards the guide.
Is there something we should do?
The guide takes us to an area a bit further inland, but not too far from the water. Trees partially obscure our location, and there's enough room to watch the coast in case prowlers start to emerge from the water. Essentially, it's a place where an ambush would be hard.
If any of you see anything at all, speak up. We don't want them to sneak up on us.
Almost automatically, each member of the group turns in a different direction. As the sky continues to fade from pale purple to a muted blue, the waters stay silent. For the first time, nothing happens. It is a miracle. Suddenly my chest is lighter and the air is fresher. Hey, we made it! The first pricks of light appear over the horizon, stinging my eyes after such a long journey through the darkness. A sound catches my attention and I move my focus towards its direction. The guide is opening the latch on his lantern again. He gently, almost respectfully, blows out the light.
We no longer have to worry about the Nixie. It is over for today.
I mean, why don't they just cross in the daytime? Why do they have to make it at night? I'm almost unable to keep tears of relief pouring out at those words. We made it through the night. We survived. No one feels the need to speak. We look at each other, an understanding passing between us. Then we find our own space, as comfortable as we can get, and lie down for the rest we weren't sure would ever come. My eyes slowly blink open and readjust to the brightness, what little there is. The sun is obscured by a thick layer of fog, making it impossible to estimate the time of day. I prop up on my elbows and push myself upwards. The ground is hard and rocky, but that isn't the only reason I am eager to get on my feet. I check my surroundings. The harsh, craggy earth of the island is interlaced with twisting vines and gnarled branches. Beside me, Bemele is still fast asleep. The guide, however, is nowhere to be seen. I realise that I don't recall seeing him lay down with everyone. It's likely he left us hours ago. There is a creeping silence here. I can't help but shudder at the hollow, aching feeling inside of me. It refuses to relent. I shift my weight back and forth, unsure of what to do with myself. Memories of last night's harrowing journey flicker through my mind. Bemele suddenly wakes, rising with alarm. My mouth opens, then shuts, and after a moment of fumbling, a word finally escapes.
Hello.
Hey. Bemele gives me a gentle smile and makes his way over to me.
Morning.
A pocket of quiet descends over us. Bemele sighs. The atmosphere is weighing on him already.
We should eat something soon.
Yes.
A distinct rustling of the leaves catches my attention. The guide appears, emerging from the thicket. Bemele glares at him as he makes his way over.
The Nixie will not tread on land in daylight. However, being near the shoreline is still dangerous. If you leave the center of the island, remain cautious. Before the sun sets, I will be in this area. It would be wise to meet me here before nightfall.
Why do you do this?
I sharply turn towards Bermeley as he snarls and confronts the guide.
If you had just let him follow behind us, if you had been there before, none of this would have happened. They didn't have to die.
The guide looks away, seemingly unaffected.
If all you're going to do is leave everyone to be lost, then why bother guiding us at all?
I mean, to be fair, the guide is just a guide, though. Like, he knows best, so... Oh, my desk's moving. That's not very good. Despite Bermeley's severe words, the guide apparently considers his piece here finished. He turns towards the forest dairy from which he came.
Wait!
Bermeley calls out to the guide, reaching towards him. Before he can make contact, I quickly place a hand on his shoulder. He lowers his arm to the side, though I can still feel wrath emanating from him. We stay this way until the guide disappears from view. Bermeley begins to kick at the ground, spraying tiny pieces of gravel about.
Bermeley, I know you're angry, but regardless of our feelings, we need the guide. If he leaves us, we'll all die.
And we've done so well with him?
I give him a cold glance. We won't even know which bridge to take without the guide. Bermeley knows that. This needs to stop. There are people counting on us to make it back.
We can't afford to lose our way.
The anger etched into his expression fades into
I
sadness.
can't stay here right now.
Quietly, I speak. I need to be alone. Bermeley, wait. I'm going to speak with the guide. I ball my hands into fists, steel my will, and start advancing in the direction. Shush. And start advancing in the direction the guide went. I push my way through the branches and reach the other shore of the island. I look for the guide, but he is nowhere in sight. How? Where could he have gone? I search the area without success. The island is not in any way large. If I had not found him, it can only be because he does not wish to be found. I sigh as all motivation leaves me. I think I simply need to be alone. Oh, got the achievement unlocked, alone. It seems as though my wish to be alone will be granted. There's no sign that they will be returning. A cold chill somehow whips its way down my back, despite the calm of the air. I keep my gaze on the dark ground, taking a breath so deep it stings the back of my throat. As I steadily empty my lungs, I try to empty my mind of all thoughts. I do not know what I'm doing anymore. Nothing is straightforward. I find something familiar and powerful in my thoughts and latch on. The mission. I have to try and focus on the mission. I need to be strong. My eyes dart back up. Is someone watching? I wonder if I'm afraid of being seen struggling like this, or if I hope I may not be on my own here. It doesn't matter. There is still nothing but the silent island. Time seems so indefinite around me, passing slowly. On this island, it almost seems to move slow as a stagnant pond. I shake my head, burying the thought. It's irrational, but I cannot bear to think of even old pond water. Gradually, my consciousness begins to include the world again. I do a few standard warm-up stretches, testing my mind and body. I don't know how long it's been, but I feel that I have regained enough of my wits to continue on. I need to make sure everything is alright. I head through the wooded part of the island. There isn't anything that could be called a path, but I manage to pick my way through the bush quite well. Through a thinner stand of trees, I briefly catch sight of the guide, standing on one of the beaches. He seems fine, but even though I'm sure he turned his head towards me, he makes no show of acknowledging me. I continue my trek without heeding that. After moving on, I find Bermeley in a jagged clearing, leaning against a tree. He's already noticed me and is looking my way, smiling. As I get closer, I can pick up on the sadness behind his jovial expression.
How are you faring? Any problems?
Everything is fine. I came to check on you.
How kind. I've calmed down since then.
I'm glad to hear that. Is there any way I can help or anything you'd like to say?
He raises an eyebrow at that, his grin becoming markedly playful.
I didn't expect to see you so worried about me, Kika.
I have to force myself not to avert my eyes at that comment, embarrassment flowing into me. Bemley notices my reaction. He does not draw attention to it, however. Instead, he throws his arms out wide with a sour expression.
Have you seen the guide?
Bemley is clearly asking out of a sense of obligation and makes no secret that he's not pleased to be discussing the guide. I nod in response.
I saw him earlier. He is the same as always.
Good. In that case, I'm going to stretch my legs for a bit. I feel stiff from standing in one place for so long.
I bid him a brief goodbye. Bemley waves as he departs. I find that I've been pacing back and forth for quite some time. I finished my check a while ago, so now I've nothing left to do but aimlessly wander. I'm overcome with restlessness. This island may be safer than the bridges, but that is far from enough to ease the mind. I quietly sigh and decide to wait on my own. If I go back now, whoever I encounter will know that I don't want to be alone. That is more troubling than simply staying where I am. I sit down and silently listen to the ambience of the island as I wait for time to pass. I can only hope this will all end before I can no longer keep myself together. Like, why do we have to go at night if that's the most dangerous? Like, surely it would make more sense to wait until light to cross the bridges and then stay on the island at night. That would make sense. The sun begins to descend into the sky and the light starts to fade into the fog. I feel relieved that it is almost time to leave this island. A chill slips down my spine at the thought of what comes next, however. Bemley soon arrives. He gives me a half smile as he waves.
Hello there.
I wave back and walk over. I'm glad he's here. I don't want to be alone any longer.
Hello.
The atmosphere grows tense as the quiet stretches on. Bemley seems torn between saying something and keeping the silence. Before too long, the guide arrives. His presence snuffs out all chances of conversing definitely. I keep my focus on studying my breathing, bracing myself for what's ahead. All three of us wait in an uncomfortable silence until night falls. Night settles over like a shroud over the island, every inch of the world now covered in unrelenting darkness. Suddenly there is a gurgling. The water parts as the bridges of Sinlos rise, powered by some unrelenting force, creaking like they might fall apart. I feel an inexplicable pounding like a hammer in the back of my head, beating faster and heavier than my own heart. I clench my teeth to stop it from churning my stomach.
We must go now.
The guide doesn't wait for any replies, briskly starting in the direction of the shore. Bemley and I match his pace. I can feel the air weighing on us, a sensation that slows our steps despite being rested. Something hovers in my mind, the mirrored memory of the beginning of last night's journey. One day ago feels like a lifetime past. The thick, inky water sloshes reluctantly off the boards, bleeding back into the lake until finally it stills. Okay, so now that we are going back onto the bridge and we are doing our second part of the journey, I am going to leave this session here. I am really enjoying this game. The fact that this was it's a free game, I think this is like quite well done, and the story is very interesting, I think. How much the decisions that we make change the story of it, I'm obviously not sure. But I already know that I want to play through this again and try and save Margaret for one, and we will take the other guy with us. So kind of do like a everyone kind of lives playthrough, because that'd be pretty good. But for now, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.